Trading gold is something that we all like to do. It's a very exciting asset to understand and to trade in. A lot of us are gold traders. Now, if you're a gold trader, then one of the things that you always look at is the status of gold in terms of being a safe haven, a place where people can put their money without too much risk. And in fact, when you see tensions in other assets, quite often you discover that the gold price goes up because there are contradictions and there are tensions in other asset classes. Today, what I'd like to do is look at those tensions, look at those controversies and contradictions that cause people to run into gold. I'd like to look at energy and I'd like to look at food security and all that means for gold traders and for traders as a whole. We've met before. I'm Karsten. I'm at Star Trader, and Star Trader, as we're all aware, is a broker which serves 5 billion out of 8 people in the world with Forex services. That's great. We've been lucky in that we've won a number of awards over the years, and most recently, a few days ago, we won an award for being the best STP and ECN broker here in Dubai, which I think is wonderful. It's a real compliment. But we're not here to brag. We're not here to talk about why Star Trader is such a fabulous broker. We're here to talk about trading. So let's talk about trading and let's go into energy as the starting point. Well, here in Dubai, we had COP28 a couple of months ago, and COP28 was a discussion forum where people discussed about ways by which we could keep the temperature down here in the world. Everything is getting hotter. It's a real threat and it's getting worse. And you can see that it is getting worse because if you look at the S&P E&P index, well, that sounds like quite a mouthful. That's the S&P Global Oil and Gas Exploration and Production Index. If you look at that index, over the past 12 months, it has gone up by 36%. Why? Because in terms of oil production and gas exploration and so forth, we are investing close to 1 trillion between now and the year 2030 in increasing our production capacity worldwide for oil and gas. And the reason is simple. We are consuming more energy than ever. We're not using heat pumps to the level that we should do. We're not insulating our homes to the level that we should do. And consequently, all over the world, we see energy consumption going up. As soon as we get some money, we introduce air conditioning systems in houses where there were previously no air conditioning systems, and we consume more energy. And someone is going to sell that, and that comes from oil and gas ultimately today. It could come from nuclear to a greater extent than it does, but the world's #1 supplier of enriched uranium is Russia, and people are a bit careful about overindulging in nuclear energy for those reasons, and consequently, oil and gas is going up, up, up. So that's one thing which is interesting from a trader's perspective. Another thing which is going up is the S&P coal index. Over the last 12 months, we've seen an increase of 80% in the S&P coal index. Why? Well, there are record high prices for coal and for oil and natural gas. Sanctions create a shortage, and there's a considerable growing demand for coal, both from India and China, but also from other countries, especially steel producing countries. So yeah, coal has gone up by 80% over the past 12 months. So energy trading as a whole has been great fun over the last 12 months. What are we expecting in 2024? I don't know. I'm not here to give advice. I don't give advice. But you can see that energy is an exciting area to trade in because you have these contradictions. You have the knowledge that we shouldn't be using more energy and that we in fact are using more energy than ever before. And going forward, we're going to use even more energy, although we have even stronger reasons to reduce our consumption of energy. So contradictions give us volatility. And if there is volatility, then as a trader, that's great fun. That's what traders like. That's what we like. If we go over to food for a moment and start thinking about food security, then a quick search on any United Nations website will show that we're going to have shortages of food, we're going to have shortages of protein, we're going to have shortages of calories over the next 10 years. The uneven distribution of all of these things will increase. We will have hunger over the next 10 years, we already do. And all in all, food security has sailed up as being a major issue. I'm in Dubai at the moment, and close to Dubai we've had some problems outside the Sea of Oman and so forth. So transport is an increasing problem, logistics are an increasing problem. All in all, food security is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. 26 countries in the world rely almost entirely on Russia and Ukraine for grains. I don't need to say what that means in terms of food security. China imports soya beans from all over the world for its own supply. Less than 20% of the soya beans that are consumed in China are produced in China. So there's a big reliance on global trade. However, when you start looking at global trade, fertilizers are a key issue. And both Russia and China have banned the export of fertilizers over the past couple of months. There's a shortage of potash and phosphate rock. Potash are these potassium minerals and potassium salts that you need for good fertilizers. There's a shortage of all of those things. And fertilizer business is controlled mainly by Nutrien, Mosaic, Belarus Kali and Ural Kali. And these are companies that are subject to some logistical problems, if we put it that way. So fertilizers are a challenge. If we have a reduction in the export of fertilizers from Russia and China, it means that the rate of growth of food in other countries goes down because we don't have the fertilizer for it. So that will make food security an even bigger issue to consider. And you see it on food prices. Over the last 12 months, food prices globally have gone up by 30%. That's a big number. Well, what does that mean? Well, for every 1% increase in food prices, it means that the number of people who shift from being very poor to extreme poverty, that shift is 10 million people for every single percent that global prices increase. So 30 times 10, that's 300 million people who are going down into extreme poverty from being very poor already worldwide. This gives food security issues. And there are domino effects. There have been bans on sunflower oil exports, and these bans on sunflower oil exports have triggered other countries like Indonesia to ban the export of palm oil and India to ban the export of wheat, which in the context of Russia and Ukraine being the dominant grain suppliers then becomes a problem for many other countries. So food security as a whole is a big, big issue. I think you can feel the tensions. There are contradictions here, there are tensions here. Now, before we start looking at that from a trader's perspective, let's understand food. What is food? Well, that sounds like an obvious question, but not really, because 100 years ago, in 1924, we ate things like fruits and vegetables and fish and meat. Now, 100 years later, now that we are richer and more clever and better informed, half the calories we consume are from ultra-processed foods. Now, the University of Sao Paulo only coined the phrase ultra-processed food, or UPF, about 10 years ago, so it's a new term. And these ultra-processed foods, or UPFs, they're energy dense, they're high in sugar, they're high in fat, high in salt, UPFs. So it's kind of trash food, if you wish, but not really, because they're very profitable to make, and they're very convenient and imperishable, easy to sell. You can put them in an attractive box, they're very easy to sell. So energy dense, high in sugar, fat, salt, UPF foods, that's more than half the food that we consume today. How do we make it? Well, we take real food and then we ultra process it. We mix in fat, salt, etc. and we package it in a nice box and we sell it at a high profit. That's what we do. So, all right, so what does that mean? What types of foods are there actually today? Well, there are 3 types of food today. One is proper food, things like bananas and salad and fish. One is ultra-processed food, and that's the dominant source of calories. And 1/3 of all the food that we produce is food that we throw away. 30% of all the food that we produce today is thrown away. That doesn't make any sense? True. 100 years ago, the number was also approximately 30%. Why? Well, 100 years ago, we did not have refrigerators to the extent that we do today. And we had really poor logistics chains. So during the logistics and during the period in the home, we wasted 30% of the food. Now we have great logistics, now we have great refrigeration and deep freezers and so forth and so forth. Everything is great, and once it lands on the table, 1/3 is thrown out. That's what we do today. I'm not saying that we're making sense, I'm just telling you the truth. This is what food is today. Good. So what does that mean from a trader's perspective? Well, let's start with the main part of food. The main part of food is ultra-processed foods. UPFs are high in calories, and because they're high in calories, we grow fat. So all the countries that have any money, they buy UPF food and become fat. That's what we do. I'm not saying it makes sense, that's what we do. Consequently, there are companies that now specialize in making us less fat. So there are anti-obesity and slimming medicines that we can take as injections. And here on this image, you can see 3 celebrities that inject slimming agents into themselves daily or weekly. They pay $500 a month for this, and the consequence is that Europe's biggest company today is a company called Novo Nordisk, biggest market cap in Europe, and their product is slimming. So first we eat food, we get fat, and then we pay to get rid of it. I'm not saying we're making sense. I am saying that there are tensions and contradictions that make trading very interesting. In America, Eli Lilly is in the top 10 in terms of market cap, and their number 1 products are these slimming products, injectables that make us lose weight. Does that make sense? I'm not here to judge. We're here to trade. So what food trading can we do? Well, one easy reaction to everything I've just said is to say, okay, let's go out and short fast foods. Let's short McDonald's, mail order companies like HelloFresh. Let's short Coca-Cola. Well, that doesn't necessarily make sense because our consumption of ultra-processed foods and fast foods worldwide is going up. As soon as people get rich enough, they buy these products. So it's not obvious that we should short these stocks. We could also look at it on a product level. So if you look at Unilever, one of the biggest companies in the world again, Their brands, Knorr's, Lipton's and Ben & Jerry, you can of course analyze those brands and then look at where they're going in order to understand where Unilever goes. That's another way of looking at things. Alternatively, you can look at the business processes that people have in food. Tyson Foods is one of the biggest companies in the world. They are vertically integrated in terms of chicken. They start from eggs and they go all the way to chicken nuggets and do everything in between and sell everything. In terms of beef, they do everything from operate farms to sell steaks in countries worldwide. Same thing with pork. So that's a different type of company to analyze and think about. Alternatively, you can look at high technology companies like China Green Agriculture, CGA, very good at fertilizers. They have a new range of humic acid-based organic liquid fertilizers that they're selling. Very strong products. They also do fruits. How should we look at this? Well, the easy thing to do is to ask you, and that's what I've done. I've gone around those traders who trade most actively in the world of food security. And some of us, or some of you, focus on consumer-facing brands, focus on ultra-processed food. They kind of become specialists in those areas in terms of how they trade. And that's an interesting way of looking at it. Another group of traders that is quite distinct is the group of traders that focuses on production and fertilizers and trade only on stocks that relate to those things. And then there's another cluster of food traders who trade on technology-based stocks. So we're talking about AI-based agriculture, machine learning, farming, efficient RAS, breathing fish farms. We're looking at anything to do with technology. So quite a lot of traders focus on that side. Another aspect which I find is interesting is that I found traders who focus on companies that work on uneaten food. So we mentioned that there are three types of food. There's the proper food, there's ultra-processed food that we mainly eat, and there's food we throw away. And I found clusters of traders who focus on companies that are specialized on taking care of the food that we throw away in different ways. And furthermore, there's another class of traders who focus on land. So kind of real estate, but not quite, because it's land enhancement. What is it that you can do to make land better for farming? And looking at companies that are specialized at land enhancement. That's interesting. So different ways of looking at food trading. All in all, there are some forces that cause food companies to go up, and there are some forces that cause food companies to go down. Rising demand after the pandemic has caused companies like McDonald's and Chipotle Mexican Grill to go up. That's nice for them, and it's nice for the traders who have traded that those would go up indeed. Online food has increased a lot, so Domino's Pizza have been boosted and Wendy's have been boosted. You can see that in the stock price, the way that that's played out. And then you have innovation. Innovation in terms of giving us food in surprising places, so ghost kitchens in shopping malls, kiosks, companies like Chick-fil-A and Burger King have been very innovative in those spaces. So you can see the stock price respond to moves like that. At the same time, you have other things that pull the stock prices down. So inflation means that people are more sensitive about what they spend on food. So some of the losers might be McDonald's or Yum brands. Labor shortages have been a problem in some countries, and you can see that on some of the stock prices. Maybe Chipotle Mexican Grill again, and maybe Starbucks. And you can see health concerns. And under health concerns, we're talking about ultra-processed foods, we're talking fast foods, we're talking sugars, so maybe Pepsi, I don't know. You'll have to look at that. But certainly you can see forces that cause food prices, or the prices of stocks to go up, and you can see forces that cause prices of stocks to go down. People who are into food trading, they look at these things all day, every day, and I think it's a really exciting area. So Where is this going to go? What should we be expecting in the future? Well, let's go back to energy. Let's look at the whole big picture again for a moment. 2023 was the hottest year ever, accelerating very quickly, much faster than people expected. And 2024 will be even hotter. So I predict that 2024, the reason I predict it is because everyone else says so. If you ask the United Nations, Morgan Stanley, you'll find that everyone says so. 2024 should be the warmest year ever, since records began. We should be comfortably over 1.5 degrees higher than the pre-industrial levels in terms of temperature. It's going in the wrong direction, and it's going in the wrong direction quickly. Because of El Nino, 2025 might be a bit cooler than 2024, that's possible, but the trend is all in the wrong direction. And together, worldwide, if we look at what we're actually doing, we are investing as much as we can into making our planet warmer. So previously people said that the heating of the planet should be limited to 1.5 degrees maximum. Well, we'll break that in 2024. So all of those promises out the window. Where is it going to stop? I don't know. Will it stop at 3 degrees or 5 degrees or some other number? I don't know. What I do know is that the population on the planet will increase from where we are now at 7 billion, 8 billion. It'll go up to 12 billion by the year 2050. At the same time, we will all get richer. And what we've seen so far is that when we get richer, we consume much more energy per person than before. So if you increase the population and you increase the power consumption, people will be buying oil and gas and coal and anything else that goes. Here in the UAE, we can see big investments into alternative energies, renewables and so forth. And I applaud that. I think that's really, really good. But we need some big breakthroughs. Maybe those big breakthroughs will come. That would be great. But at the moment, we have not identified them. So it's a tricky one. All in all, 2024 is a great year for traders. It's a great year to be a gold trader because these contradictions will cause people to run in and out of gold, and we will see a price volatility in gold, which is driven by the feelings of insecurity that we all have. We'll see volatility in energy, both in oil, in gas, and in coal, because the demand is going up and down, the production is going up and down, the logistics are going up and down. We're going to see food security issues affecting the food security. There's so much volatility. All of these things together cause traders to be in a wonderful position. This is where we want to be. We want volatility because that makes trading exciting. Good. Thank you very much for taking the time.